Good afternoon, Rando fans. My name is Etienne. I'm joined today by Ben Creighton. How are you doing?
Doing just fine. Looking forward to some nice, lovely randomized Zeldas today.
Yeah, we got a pretty great matchup between two pretty great runners, cassidymoen and Megawott. This is game 2. Megawatt taking the first game. cassidymoen, as the loser of the first game, was allowed to choose an option and chose Assured Sword. So we are starting with a sword today.
And we're off with some divergence right from the beginning. We've got Cassidy starting off in sync, giving us a little map check with 3 crystals in the light world.
Yeah, all regular crystals. That was kind of easy for tracking. And yeah, Megawatt heading up, doing that Uncle route, and getting full magic is bad.
And it looks like Cassidy's finding the same thing on a different tree, and he'll be giving us a peek, it looks like, at the lumberjack spot. As well as quad bombs from our bush crab here. Really nice, convenient drops to start with.
And was that a sword I saw on the ledge? I'm not 100% sure on that. So
I believe it was rupees.
Okay, it was just rupees. And Megawatt is going to head straight into the escape. Makes a lot of sense when you got a non-consumable weapon like a sword.
Yep, and that is the one setting that's been changed from the default tournament standard. We've got assured swords, but other than that, 7 crystals. We'll need 7 crystals to get into Ganon's tower, 7 crystals to make Ganon vulnerable. Some nice, fairly straight-ahead randomizer action today.
And there is that key in the small chest, so that will put, well, with the lamp, that would put the entire escape into logic. And Cassidy, not going to go for Kakariko here. So both runners actually not going straight to Kakariko. So kind of interesting routing here. Cassidy, I know, loves to do the Kak skip, as we call it. Putting off Kakariko for later. There's some pros and cons to it. The disadvantage is Kakariko is a very item-dense location, and you could be missing out on some important early progression. But the pros are that you can always find some items to make your routing in Kakariko a little smoother. As you see, a lamp and a hammer and flippers. So pretty stacked mini Moldorm cave.
Yeah, that'll, when he gets around to doing his own escape, that'll give him the option of doing Dark Cross, should he so desire, without mucking around in dark rooms.
Yeah, Megawatt not finding much in the front of escape. It does get a few bombs, which is, not half bad. 3 minutes in. And Cassidy putting those flippers to immediate use, going to go check the hobo.
And everybody's ignoring Kakariko today. Everybody's big brains think alike today.
Yeah, this is definitely an unusual start. And just some bombs off of the hobo. As Megawatt finds a heart container at the dam. Cassidy actually skipped the dam, so maybe planning to route that in later with Agina. Or even the rare situation where you get to route that in with diving into Swamp Palace. And the other item in the dam, just 20 rupees. This early in the game, it definitely is worth picking that up. Cassidy, meanwhile, heading over to Ice Rod Cave. And Megawatt heads in to find his treasures inside a mini Moldorm cave.
Cassidy just finding a nice big heart container in that ice rod cave.
And we are continuing with the Kakariko skip. Cassidy heading down towards the dam now and presumably going to walk over towards Agina later. Megawott makes the walk over to Ice Rod Cave. Jumps into the water to swim over. Swimming's a little bit faster than walking. If you are good at swimming. The swimming mechanics in this game, not the most intuitive. So it takes it does take a bit of practice to get fast at swimming.
Yeah, there's a lot of momentum to be dealt with. It's faster in a straight line, but you go a little bit too far left or right, you miss your stairs. It can eat up some time if you're not skilled. And it looks like you were right. Cassidy is heading towards Agina.
Yeah, so Megawatt, with his routing, has Agina a little bit isolated. So if there's something here, this could be a big early advantage for Cassidy. We see just 20 rupees on the desert ledge.
Yeah, this early in the seed, unless you find that nice early book to get into desert, Agina's kind of gonna be an isolated spot, kind of no matter what you do. Take some going out of your way to get there early.
And just a heart piece there, so no luck for Cassidy. Megawatt looks to be continuing on to check Waterfall Ferry, which Cassidy did not check.
Cassidy, on the other hand, looks like he might finally, 7 minutes into the seed, be heading towards Kakariko.
Yeah, so this might be one of the latest Kakarikos we've seen in a two-player race. Megawott is checking that Pyramid Ferry. Now, I think the reason Cassidy put this off is hoping to route it in later with Zora, potentially. And we do get a bottle with... Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, that bottle might wind up being a slight advantage. When Megawatt does finally make his way to the village, he'll be able to check Sick Kid.
Megawatt spots a heart piece and nowhere near enough money for Zora, so we're going to save him quit out of there. Oh, but there's a bottle on the race game, so probably takes a little bit of extra time for Cassidy to have to run in and grab that, but gonna be able to check that Sick Kid, so worth the trip.
Absolutely, and if he does wind up being able to check Zora in with the fairy fountain check, then that'll make up whatever time he loses. So still a pretty close race, shy of 10 minutes in, as they tend to be.
Yeah, for sure. I did not see what was on the library, but I'm sure we'll see that in a moment as we get a vanilla empty bottle in the back of Tavern. That's our third bottle, 8 minutes in.
Looks like that was just a piece of heart in the library. Nothing we'll need to worry about, but the Sick Kid's handing out flutes today.
Yeah, so with all those early bottles, definitely that is a pretty strong indicator of Sick Kid. And having that flute in Kakariko, I don't think either runner is going to feel terribly good about that, since you kind of expect your opponent to go straight to Kakariko. So they may be feeling like they've lost a little bit of time. But they've actually both got the flute right about the same time, so no real big advantage one way or the other.
That's true, and as far as progression goes, that opens up a couple of checks up on the mountain, but It'll be interesting to see if these two runners continue to make the big brain plays away from the item density, heading up that way, or if they potentially head over to Sorcerer's Closet would be the other big spot to check right now.
Bottle vendor with a full refund of 100 rupees, so that's it's always kind of funny when that happens. We got a Master Sword in the well.
Ooh, Master Sword and Lamp this early. That's a strong indicator of a possible Agaseed.
Well, that glove kind of kills Aga now. So we do still need that Moon Pearl. There is the possibility of the Moon Pearl on the Pyramid Ledge. But other than that, it's looking very unlikely Aga will be required now.
Yeah, we do have quite a few spots to check before resorting to that. There's Sorcerer's Closet, there's Death Mountain, a potential Eastern Palace dip. You typically don't want to head into Aga until you have no other choice. And Cassidy finding a nice red cane there in Blind's hideout.
Yeah, that cane is almost always required. It doesn't do anything for us just yet, but nice to get out of the way. And Cassidy actually saving and quitting out of Blind's hut. Not going to go check the Lost Woods just yet. Not really a big deal, because he can flute there whenever he wants. And he could potentially, if we find a mirror, can actually route in Skull Woods and Lost Woods together. That's a pretty rare situation, but it can happen.
And Cassidy remembering something that I'd forgotten, which is that the backside of Sanctuary has 3 nice convenient checks right in a row here. Dark Cross also still in play.
Yeah, and his back of escape was already in logic with the lamp and the key we found, but the glove makes it a lot faster, and we do get an ice rod in back there. And Cassidy skipping Dark Cross. Is that a map in there? Did we see the map already?
He did find the map, so there will be an item in Dark Cross, but Cassidy, not having done the front side yet, lacked a small key to go get it from the backside.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I was thinking he was skipping Dark Cross on purpose, but that makes a lot more sense. So Megawott already having that key is going to be able to route in Dark Cross just a little bit faster. And just a bit of money at Dark Cross, so the hunt for that Moon Pearl continues. We still have not seen the eastern area. We got a couple checks on Death Mountain we can do. And of course there is Zora, which would be pretty trolly. Megawatt opting for the old man first.
Not a bad play when you've got that nice early flute, unlocking that save and quit location with the easy full heart fill up. Can save you a good amount of time over the course of a run.
Yeah, for sure. Generally, you want to do old man pretty early. It's almost never going to be skipped, so you might as well get it out of the way now. Wow. We got a tempered sword. So very early, very strong offensive firepower in this seed. Megawatt gonna head up, can check the top of Spectacle Rock and what's inside Spectacle Rock, and we see the boots there. So we will need the mirror to get those, and Bombos inside. So a couple of pretty nice items. And Cassidy took an unintentional death to Zelda's the ball and chain guard. And there is an item down there. We know it's nothing, but that was definitely not intended by Cassidy.
Yeah, that's the... When you take a death in a spot like that, he's doing what a lot of us would do, which is you gotta hope it's nothing and keep on going, but that's the sort of thing that can haunt the back of your mind for the rest of a run.
Yeah, for sure. Looks like Cassidy's decided to cut his losses for now and skip that item.
And it looks like Megawott might be giving us a look into Lost Woods here.
Yeah, this is a spot that's normally checked within the first couple minutes, and we're seeing it for the first time here almost 16 minutes in. Just $50 in the drop down. And just some bombs there. Megawatt dodges the duck, says, you know what, that's a lot of bombs, I want them. And now heading over to the eastern area. We got 3 items in the back of Sahasrah's hut. And then some more items in eastern. As Cassidy flutes off to 8 and is going to go do flipper checks now.
Yeah, as of version 31, with bow being progressive, you have a lot of runners trying to avoid Eastern until they have that bow, but we're running out of spots to check for progression at this point.
Well, we unfortunately missed what was on the back of Sahasrah's hut, rather. So we'll try to get a look at his pause screen to see.
Couldn't have been anything too amazing, though, because he is making a beeline to Eastern.
Yeah, I imagine if the Moon Pearl was in there, you probably put off Eastern and just go straight to the Dark World.
And Cassidy, unfortunately, still almost 200 rupees shy of his Zora check, so he was not able to route that in. That's still a big question mark. But it looks like we might get a second glance at Sasrala's hut with his nice, hard-to-pronounce name.
Close enough.
Sarsaparillas Silly Salsa.
And Cassidy going to talk to Sastral. He actually tells you what the green pendant is, and we find out it's Meyer. And just a blue boomerang in the back of Sash's closet, so nothing super important. But there's a mirror in Eastern Palace. That's going to give us access to those boots. Well as... Sorry?
That's likely worth a second trip up to Death Mountain. That'll open up only one more location, but getting boots early, that'll save you some good time.
Actually, that opens up a lot of stuff. We got Tower of Hero we can get to. We can use that hammer to get to East Death Mountain. That's a lot of checks.
Oh, that's a very good point. Yeah, we've got, that does put Paradox Cave in the mix. Tower of Hera is a fully clearable crystal dungeon. Always nice to see.
Megawott was going for the big chest, realized, wait, I didn't get the big key yet. So it looks like both runners going to leave Zora orphaned for now, although they do have the flippers and the mirror. They don't even need the flippers, but they have the mirror, so they'll be able to check Zora along with Catfish at some point later on if they need to.
And in the unlikely event that it does get last locationed before Dark World access, say if that Moon Pearl is sitting there, the flute gets you back there relatively quickly, so it's not too painful.
And it looks like Cassidy actually noped out of Eastern after getting that mirror. So what's in this big chest? Just a heart container, so it's not going to punish Cassidy. So just one of those little gambles to save a bit of time. If there had been something important in that big chest, that would have been huge. But as it is, Cassidy is going to save a little bit of time and has a slight lead going up the mountain. Although Megawott, having already grabbed that Bombos, is they're probably going to get those boots at almost the same time. Cassidy lining up this bomb jump here. This one's a little tricky, but once you've got the setup, it's not too hard.
And considering that if you fail, it just knocks you down to walk around the long way the way you would have had to do anyway, so no sense not giving it a shot.
Yeah, it's definitely a bit of a time loss to fail that bomb jump, so... Oh, here's our map check. That was Turtle Rock and Thieves Town as the regular pendants. I did not catch what the 5-6 crystals were.
So interesting. Turtle Rock and Mire pendants, the two dungeons that require the red cane, which we found relatively early.
They both have Tempered Sword Frostbite. Alright, so we got the big key in the lobby. So we are not going to have to go to the basement right now. There's a compass, and Megawott going to set up this bomb jump. This one definitely slightly dangerous. You're going to fall down 2 floors if you mess it up. So that could be close to a minute of time lost.
Yep, but Megawott sets it up nice and quick and clean, no fear. He has found both the map and the compass, so there will be an item hiding downstairs. Well, 50-50 shot. Might be a small key hidden behind itself down there.
Yeah. So, ooh, Megawott taking a Moldorm fall.
Well, if you got to take one, that's the time to do it before you've spent some time doing damage to him.
Yeah, not the fall you want to take. When you got Tempered Sword, it's just a single slash and a single spin to take out Moldorm. Cassidy also taking a fall, so both runners wasting the same amount of time, and we do have a hook shot on Moldorm.
On the off chance they find Titans in Paradox Cave, that would be really nice to be able to route Hookshot Cave in and Dark Death Mountain alongside everything else. That's about all Hookshot does for them at the moment.
Yeah. But once they find that Moon Pearl, Swamp Palace is going to be fully clearable. And it would not surprise me if they beelined it there immediately.
Yeah, that's a pretty common early Dark World destination if you have the means to full clear it right away. It's one that runners like to do either first or last. First for the item density, last because if you can go mode it, that's a big time save.
Yeah, and Cassidy saving and quitting out of Hera? I'm not sure where he's going. with this. Megawatt finding the Titansmiths in Spiral Cave. Oh, Cassidy wants to do the boot checks. I guess with the hook shot, they can get back to East Death Mountain fairly quickly, but I still think it would have been better to do that now. First two chests in Paradox Cave, nothing. Alright, Cassidy heading straight back. I guess just wanted to check Bonk Rocks first in case maybe the Titansmiths were there. But we know Titansmiths are right there in Spiral Cave.
Yeah, the more I think about it, it's not a bad gamble, because if either Titan's Myths or Moon Pearl had wound up being there, that could have been a big time save, being able to do all of Death Mountain, East Side, Dark and Light, all in one go.
Yeah, but as it turns out, all we get out of Paradox Cave is that shovel. So the hunt for the Moon Pearl continues.
It could, with both Flute, Mirror, and Titan's Myths in play, it could be in Checkerboard Cave at this point. And it looks like that's what Megawatt's checking.
Yeah, Checkerboard Cave is a strong possibility.
Or Desert Palace.
Could be in Desert Palace, that's true. Actually, we can full clear Desert Palace right now. Oh, Megawatt did a map check. I didn't catch a 5-6 crystals again. Our tracker has one of them marked as Skull Woods. I'm not sure what the other one was. Okay, Swamp and Skull. And Megawatt immediately heading into Desert. So some other locations we do have accessible. That Shovel, King's Tomb, and Zora are all still in logic. And there's a bow on the Desert Torch. Cassidy into Spiral Cave now to grab those Titansmiths.
Cassidy also scouted out the floating island. Looks like we have an armor upgrade there. It'll be interesting to see whether either runner considers that worth the time investment to collect.
Yeah, they're probably not going to go out of their way anytime soon for it, but if they're on their way to GT and still on Green Mail, they might consider it. But that is a pretty big time investment for an item that's not required. And they've already got a good amount of hearts already, 11 hearts, and they'll surely find quite a few more. So I can see both of them skipping that mail. Alright, Megawatt making his way now into the Landmo fight. Gonna use Ice Rod. Ice Rod and Tempered Sword gonna make this fight pretty free.
But those Ice Rod shots are rough when all of your muscle memory is telling you to line up for Fire Rod shots. At least, that's how I tend to screw up this fight.
Yeah, Megawatt managing a 4-cycle fight there. Probably not super happy with how that one went, but no big deal. Gets a crystal.
No progression here yet, but we still do have checkerboard in this area before we peace out.
And Megawatt did do Lamno before the right side, just in case the second item was there, which makes a lot of sense. Because if it is, you can just skip the right side. It's just a heart piece there, so we're down to Checkerboard Cave and
Zora, Pyramid.
Zora. Oh yeah, Pyramid. That's looking a bit stronger of a possibility now. But I'm still thinking it's probably just gonna be Checkerboard Cave. So if they don't find the Moon Pearl in Checkerboard, there actually is an interesting glitch they can do to get the items in Meyer's shed.
I've seen it done, but I'm not familiar with the mechanics.
So there's a couple ways to do it. Yeah, there's the Moon Pearl, so we're not going to see that. But one way you can do it is if you mirror on the same frame that you enter the door, it will activate the Super Bunny state, and you'll be able to open the chests. The other way is to take damage on the same frame you enter the door. But again, since we got the Moon Pearl, we don't have to mess around with that. And these items now are fully on logic. And we got a cannon burner and a heart piece. So that cannon burner will put Spike Cave into logic. But it doesn't do much else for us.
Makes the blind fight a little easier for scrubs like me, but I don't anticipate these two runners having much trouble.
Nah, especially now with 12 hearts. So Megawott running in to check Agina's cave. And cassidymoen grabbing that Moon Pearl, probably heading over to Meyer's shed after. Did you happen to catch what medallion was required for Meyer?
I did not.
And Cassidy actually fluting away, not going to check the Meyer shed. I think that might have been a little bit of an oversight, because it's right there. But instead, we're getting both runners heading straight towards Pod. And by the way, if you haven't been paying attention, we're one item from Go Mode. We just need the Fire Rod.
That's true. Barely a half an hour into the race, and
I mean, almost everything wasn't just in the light world. We just kept finding more and more stuff and no Moon Pearl. So this is just going to be one of those races where it's kind of a needle in the haystack type of thing. It's just who goes to the right place first where that Fire Rod is.
yeah, well, by my count, we've got, besides Pod and Eastern, Swamp Palace is full clearable, Ice Palace is full clearable with, so quite a lot of crystals to collect before our runners have to go too far out of their way to do any crazy checks.
Yeah, I think in this situation, you just immediately go for those crystals, and Eastern Palace and Pod make the most sense here. We've already cleared out the front of Eastern. There might be an item left on the boss, I can't remember. But there are definitely 5 items in Pod we can get.
Yeah, Pod has a lot of item density, and in contrast to Swamp Palace, you don't save too much time by go-moding it, so it definitely makes a lot of sense to tackle Pod and Eastern first, followed by probably Swamp and then Ice.
So I actually prefer Megawatt's routing here to do Eastern Palace first. Just on the off chance the Fire Rod is on Armos, you'll be able to go mode Pod.
That's a very good point. Depending on where the big key and pod is hiding, it can be a time save, and it's essentially free. You're just spending a screen transition on the off chance.
They're getting word it is the Quake Medallion to get into Mire. But we aren't going to see Mire for quite a long time regardless. We got a lot of crystals we can do now.
Yep, if at all, because we haven't seen that Quake Medallion yet. And it is a pendant dungeon with only 2 items, 3 if you count whatever's hiding behind that green pendant. There's a lot of places you'd want to check before that.
Alright, just some money off of Armos, but Megawott does get that 3rd crystal. And I don't believe Cassidy's seen the big key yet. So we are going to be heading to the back. And I think threw that bomb a little too low, so that I don't think that wall opened. There's that big key. And a small key, so we are going to have an item there in the Harmless Hellway. And that's just a heart piece. Yeah, so if you're just joining us, we are only looking for the fire rod. This has been what looks to be a very quick seed. Again, we don't know where that fire rod is. It could be hiding somewhere nasty. But if that pops up soon, we are going to have an absolute jet seed here.
Yep, I make it a personal policy never to call jet seed until that go mode item's been found, because you just never know. Especially with our runners having passed nearby Zora multiple times without the rupees to actually check him.
Well, that'll help. We just got 300 rupees in the big chest. But again, Zora area not looking very appealing right now when you got crystals to clear.
Yep, there's quite a bit in the overworld that we probably won't see for quite a while, if at all. We haven't seen King's Tomb, any of the Jeremiah Loop stuff, Eastside Death Mountain. That fire rod could be hiding... Eastside Dark Death Mountain, I should say. That fire rod could be hiding any number of places.
Yeah, we haven't even seen Hype Cave yet. It could just be sitting there.
Yeah, that is an overworld location, being so close to Swamp Palace, which is a full clearable crystal dungeon. That one we probably will see before too terribly long.
Alright, Cassidy. Heading into Helmasaur now. Almost gets a 1 cycle in the turtle room. It's just a split second too slow on that last turtle. And here is the Helmasaur fight. So with Tempered Sword, this is a pretty easy fight. Tempered Sword and a ton of heart. We did have the bug net, by the way, in the dark maze there, so nothing too exciting, but it is a little extra safety. Not that these runners are likely to need it or anything.
And we do have the mushroom there on good old Helmasaur.
All right. Well, wouldn't surprise me if they went straight to turn that in. It's a very quick check with the flute.
As Cassidy heads in to clear out his own Armos fight, our runners kind of covering each other's tracks for a moment here. Let's take a moment to thank our hardworking tracker, Samimus.
Yeah, trackers certainly an important part of the stream. So I think, if I were these runners, my next play would just be Hype Cave right in the swamp. That gets you a lot of items fairly quickly, but if you are in a gambling mood, you might look at Ice Palace first and try to go more swamp. But there's just so many items in Hype Cave and Swamp that I think you kind of have to do that first.
Yeah, and ironically, early in the seed, our two runners very much seem to be in a gambling mood. Made a lot of the same gambles, and they've been playing a little more conservatively ever since, when those gambles did not appear from what they could see to pay off. Of course, we know that they're actually neck and neck. With Megawott potentially having a very slight lead, but whole lot of rando left in play before we call any kind of definitive advantage.
All right, there's that mushroom from Megawatt. So I imagine we'll see that get turned in right away, followed by that Hype to Swamp play.
The only reason I could see hanging on to it is if he wants to leave the option open to use the fake powder glitch to spoof the batter check.
Yeah, that's a glitch that rarely pays off, but when it does, it can be huge. So looks like Megawatt's not going to bother with that, though. Just going to turn that mushroom in.
Yeah, it's a pretty outside chance that that would save him any particular time. So definitely not a bad play.
It's just a heart piece. Megawatt says, free heart piece, I'll take it. So Cassidy, not very far behind here, just about to finish off that Armos fight, and Megawatt is heading towards Hype and Swamp. All right, here's our Hype Cave. We got $300. Fairy in a bottle, $20, 10 arrows, and a heart container. I give that a 2 out of 10. Fairy in the bottle's kind of nice. And extra money, well, at this point we don't really need the money, but yeah, 2 out of 10 for the fairy in a bottle.
I can get behind 2 out of 10.
Cassidy, actually running off to check this marsh. I probably just remembered that he hadn't done it yet.
Yep, it's a fairly free check at this point, and could wind up paying off with that blue cane if Spike winds up coming into the mix, but that likely won't happen for quite a while with how many other more attractive plays are here as Megawatt heads into Swamp Palace.
And Cassidy actually not heading to Swamp. So we're going to see Dark Death Mountain and potentially checking that Turtle Rock Medallion. This is a gamble for Cassidy. Not going for those crystal dungeons. We still got 2 crystal dungeons we can pull clear. But Cassidy wants to check out Dark Death Mountain right now.
On the one hand, it is a gamble. On the other hand, the 2 dungeons we can full clear are exactly the ones that will save you a bunch of time to go mode. So this is a real high risk, high reward play on Cassidy's part.
Yeah, for sure. So Super Money Cave got some bombs and a book. So that book will open it. We already have Desert Palace access, so all the book is going to do is open up those tablets. So that's just 2 checks. Better than nothing, I guess. And we do see Bombos is the medallion for Turtle Rock, so we can actually get inside.
Yep, and depending on where the keys are hiding, there could be quite a few checks in Turtle Rock.
Yeah, I think if you make this gamble to come up to Dark Death Mountain and you find out you have Turtle Rock access, I think you got to go inside. Alright, nothing in Hookshot Cave. As Megawott heads straight for the back of Swamp. Haven't been counting maps and compasses. Maybe we'll get a menu at some point. I don't know.
Speaking of tablets, looks like that's where Cassidy's headed.
Just bombs there. There's a compass and some money, so we know there's at least 1 item on the left side. And Cassidy is not going to go into Turtle Rock. Gonna check Spike Cave instead. I'm not sure how I feel about this play. I mean, if you're going to gamble to come up here, I think you got to go into Turtle Rock.
Yeah, that's one of those plays that keeps your heart in your throat the whole way because you don't have that fire rod, you don't know how deep you're going to be able to get. But you're not wrong once you've committed to that gamble.
Yeah. As it is now, I mean, if the fire rod is in Turtle Rock, Cassidy's going to last location that because there is nothing else that's going to bring him up to Turtle Rock. And there's a map on Argus, so there are. We have the big key. I think we already checked the big chest, so there are 2 items on the left side. We'll see if Megawott goes back in. It wouldn't surprise me to see him skip this left side. We have a lot of stuff still open. A lot of high density checks in the Village of Outcasts. And he is going to skip left side. And he's going to go straight into Ice Palace.
Yep, Megawatt playing some pretty good straight-ahead conservative randomizer, and the way things are going, it seems like that might be the way.
Using that Bombos to take out the Freezor. And Cassidy making his way into Swamp gets a nice heart refill there.
And yep, you can really see the cost of that Death Mountain gamble. Cassidy went from just barely behind Megawatt to almost a full dungeon behind at this point in this fairly linear seed so far.
Yeah.
Linear race, I should say. The seed has been anything but.
Gamble's not yet a complete bust. We still have the Bombos tablet to check. Alright, Megawatt coming up to that Ice Palace bomb jump. Let's see if he gets it first try.
Looks like Cassidy also opting to skip a left side of Swamp, at least initially, and if my eyes do not deceive me, I believe that was a first try Ice Palace bomb jump.
Yeah, completely unbuffered. Really well done there.
Megawatt also getting that nice, satisfying single spin penguin room.
Megawatt really tearing through Ice Palace here. Great execution. There's a map in the Freezor chest. Gonna bomb jump over and check the ice. No, we can't check the ST room. We've got no key. So we're off to the right side. Interesting routing here.
Megawatt took a little fall there, but used the iframes to get past the jellyfish a little faster than would otherwise be possible.
And there's a big key. As Cassidy gonna use some ice rod shots on Argus. Very nice one cycle there. Cassidy already has that mirror out. Is definitely not checking left side swamp. Alright, so here is the moment of truth for Cassidy. Is the fire rod on the Bombos tablet?
Yep, he knows this is the big potential advantage that he has.
No. So, as it is now, Megawatt does have a bit of a lead. Although, if Megawatt does go up and check Dark Death Mountain next, that'll kind of equalize. We see a shield there in the iced tea room. And Cassidy not going for Ice Palace at all. Gonna run over, do Stumpy. Can do Stumpy, Cave 45, Dig Game, and potentially head into Village of Outcasts. A lot of checks to do there. I think Cassidy figures if the fire rod's in... Oh! That was rude. Okay, he's got a fairy, so no big deal, but that was rude.
I think that might have just retroactively bumped Hype Cave up to 3 out of 10, at least in Megawatt's case.
Yeah, that fairy just saved him a ton of time. And we see a second shield in Ice Palace. So yeah, if you missed what happened, Megawatt was dropping down that hole there, and one of the Freezors bumped him while he was falling. And that is a glitch that it only occurs in this Japanese 1.0 ROM that we use. I believe in later versions that was fixed, so you can't take damage while you're falling.
Yep, you see that a little more often, or at least you fear it a little more often in Skull Woods, where you can get wall mastered while falling. Also, a glitch exclusive to Japanese 1.0. It gives us so many things that we love, like spin speed, like fake flippers, and just a couple of glitches like that that we would rather do without.
And Megawott having a bit of a dicey cold stare fight, but gets it done. And so Ice Palace a bust. So Cassidy actually making the right call here. If Cassidy holds off on Ice Palace until he's in go mode, he will save a little bit of time over Megawatt here.
Yeah,
Cassidy,
it's with only 3 items in Ice Palace, it's definitely a very justifiable play, even being a fully completable crystal dungeon.
it looks like Megawatt is going to run up and do those Dark Death Mountain checks. And we'll see if he decides to dip Turtle Rock. But assuming he doesn't find the Fire Rod in Turtle Rock, this will pretty much equalize Cassidy. And we find silver arrows on the blacksmith. So that's not bad.
Yeah, not likely to come in handy until that Ganon fight, at least unless we find that Quake medallion for Misery, but definitely nice to have in your back pocket.
Oh, and we're getting fake powder from Cassidy. So this could be big, because Megawatt's already used that mushroom. Just 10 arrows there. Alright, Cassidy's going to save and quit, probably turn in that purple chest. And then what? Maybe Thieves Town. Maybe some more overworld checks. I don't have a ton of options left, really.
Yeah, the front of Skull Woods is not a terrible play to route in while doing the Village of Outcasts stuff. I don't think we've seen first 4 of Thieves Town.
And there's our single arrow. Alright, Cassidy now going to turn the mushroom in. Megawatt is having trouble deciding what he wants to do, but he's going to open Turtle Rock. So it looks like he's going to take a dip in there.
Yep, this race is very much anybody's game at this point. Both of our runners have made a lot of the easier decisions, and now it's a choice between bad ones.
Yeah, Cassidy heading over towards Village of Outcasts. So a lot of checks to do here still. But we are going to keep our eyes... Well, we're going to keep our eyes on both their streams because they're both doing new checks. So there's only one chest Megawatt can access immediately. And if it's not a small key, he's out of here. And it's just money. Okay, so...
Yep, Cassidy's decision to peace out without at least dipping his head into Turtle Rock is paying off for him.
I'll pretend I didn't hear that.
Paging Dr. Freud.
Alright, so this is, at this point, I think this is kind of a close race. It just depends where that Fire Rod is. Megawatt does have Ice Palace finished. But we know Cassie's going to be able to go mode that, and Cassie has more overworld checks completed. And Cassie is heading into Thieves Town. We get the big key in the first chest.
This can be another one of those tough decisions, depending on how many items you find in these first 4. Do you continue on in the dungeon?
I think you got to full clear this. There's really very little left, honestly, after Thieves Town. We got a few random overworld locations. Wouldn't that be horrible if it was on Zora and they could have had it? They could have had Moon Pearl for Go mode. That would have been insane.
Well, still no items. We're getting the minimum 1 item in the first 4, and it's just a piece of heart. So yeah, completing Thieves Town, definitely the play at this point.
It looks like Megawott now is headed towards the village of Outcast area. Let's see if he dips into Skullwoods first. No, not going to do that. So, from Megawatt's end, it might actually make a little more sense to just check the first 4 of Thieves Town, because he's still got a pile of overworld checks to do. We'll see what happens. Ooh, there's the cape. So that does open Bumper Ledge, which we have not checked yet.
Megawatt getting the mirror out. Looks like he's definitely anticipating piecing out after the first 4. We'll see whether that decision stays the same after he finds that there are still more items to be found, many more items to be found in the back.
All right, Cassidy down into Blind Cell.
And
there's
there it is. We are in go mode, boys and girls.
All right, so this race is going to depend on what Megawatt does here. Does he nope out of Thieves Town, or does he go to the back? Megawatt's out of there.
Oh, that's a heartbreaker.
That is really bad news for Megawatt. He's not going to come back there for a long time. So this is going to be a huge lead for Cassidy right now.
Yeah, even if Megawatt had opted to head deeper in, I would have called Cassidy having a slight lead, being able to go mode Ice Palace, but...
Yeah, that is really the one thing Megawatt has. Cassidy does still have to finish off Ice Palace. It'll be full go mode. That takes about 3.5 to 4 minutes, I think. But the best thing for Megawatt here is if he does all these overworld checks and finds absolutely nothing and just has to head back to Thieves Town. But yeah, I can't see him heading back in there very soon.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. There's 2 items in Skullwoods. There's North Dark World to do with King's Tomb and Graveyard Ledge. After that might be the time that you think, I know there's 3 items left in Thieves Town. That's where the item density is. Although even then, once you've made that gamble, it's totally understandable to want to double down on it.
All right, Cassidy taking on Mothula here. Out of magic. Running a little low on health, actually, and Mothula not being cooperative. Really hugging those spikes. So the problem with Mothula is if you hit him into the spikes... Ooh, Cassidy gonna use that blue potion, yeah. You got lots of money, you got the flute, you can go over and buy another one later if you absolutely need to. And this Mothula is absolutely hugging the spikes, just not giving Cassidy much of a chance here. Finally gets it done.
Yep, Mothula being quite possibly the most RNG-dependent boss fight in the game, rivaling Aga 1. Because sometimes when you've got Tempered, you can just slash, take him down in 4 hits, and sometimes RNGesus is just not with you.
Alright, so Cassidy has to make a quick run over to Ice Palace. Clear that out, and then it's off to GT. So, all in all, a pretty fast seed. It was almost an extremely fast seed, except that Fire Rod was not in the nicest of locations.
Not in the worst either. It was, well, the first place that Cassidy went after clearing Swamp Palace. We didn't get to enjoy the dream of the Zora Gomode item.
Yeah. But this is still potentially a sub 120 for Cassidy. And that's a very good time on any seed.
Yep, it'll really depend on where that GT Big Key is hiding. If it winds up hanging out in Hope Room, we could see a very fast seed.
Alright, Megawatt checking that Bomble's tablet now. And Megawatt is including back to 3. So if he heads immediately into Thieves Town, this might be a little close, but my guess he's going to actually check the front of Skullwoods here. Yeah. So he's not going to find anything he wants in here. This is just going to be more time lost for Megawatt.
Yep, it's hard to fault him for this play, but we as the viewers have the curse of knowledge.
Yeah, I mean, it all came down to that one decision. He decided to skip out on 3 items in the back of Thieves Town, and that basically decided the entire race.
Yep, this is why we play best of 3 sets here. This is in this best of 3, Megawatt does have 1 win under his belt, so barring a major upset, Cassidy will probably take the W here, but that will give us 1 more race in the set to determine a winner.
Yeah. And that's just what these kind of seeds come down to. There was a lot of our items were in the light world, so it just, once you get that dark world access, it's just kind of needle in a haystack. And Cassidy found the needle first. Alright, Cassidy on to Cold Stare. A little bit low on health. Gonna have to take this fight kind of carefully. Not sure, might have a red potion left. But you do not want to die on Cold Stare.
Yep, but ooh, taking a little hug there.
Alright, gets it done. And that is 7 crystals for Cassidy. So you know what that means. That means Cassidy's off to Gen's Tower. So, if you would like, throw a guess in chat between 1 and 22. Guess where that big key is going to be. We got... we don't have a bot, I don't think, for the game, but we'll still play it for fun. Ben, what's your guess?
I always guess 2. You do need a small key, so chest 1 small key, chest 2 big key. That's what I like to see. Just perfect GT efficiency.
Well, I always guess number 1, so I guess we're 1 and 2 today. And Megawott off to check. Oh, it's half magic. Yeah, we're not getting that. So if you're just joining us, that fire rod is in the back of Thieves Town. Megawott skipped it. And this is, right now, Cassidy has a huge lead on his way to GT. Megawatt, we're not sure when he's going to go back to Thieves Town for that fire rod. And then still has to finish off Skullwoods after finding it.
Yep, I believe he's still got Graveyard Ledge and King's Tomb to check here, and that would be the first time I could even potentially see him turning back towards Thieves Town.
No, he's going to go over to Catfish and Zora, I think, after this.
Oh, that's a very good point.
When you make the decision to skip an item, you got to commit to it. You got to say, I'm not coming back here till it's my last possible thing. No, Megawatt did go into Thieves Town, did the front of it. Only got 1 item out of the front, so there were 3 left in the back, but he decided to skip those 3 items. And that is going to cost him the race. Alright, Cassidy into GT. Number 1 is a shield. Number 2, small key. And we're going to see the right side next.
And of course, chat, ever the optimists point out that if Megawatt were to find Quake at this point, it might be quite a long time before he heads back into Thieves Town.
Yeah. Oh, is that Quake? Oh, no.
Oh, that is very unfortunate.
Yeah, Megawatt's not even going to find that fire rod before Cassidy finishes. Because he's almost certainly going to go do Misery Mire before coming back to Thieves Town. Or is he not? I'm not sure where he's going now. Either way, Cassidy has not found the big key. Oh, King's Tomb. Interesting. I guess he realized he forgot this. Alright, Cassidy, over to the left side. This is number 7. Just 20 rupees there. Number 8, 300 rupees. Number 9, small key. Number 10, 50 rupees. Number 11, big key. Did anyone guess number 11? We do have a winner, Distad28 and Sabotender. All right, congrats to both of you. And Catfish just with a heart container there as cassidymoen begins the climb.
Making very short work of those mimics, very clean.
Yeah, and we are going to finally get that Zora check. Let's see what wacky item we find here. $20. Who cares? Cassidy now entering the gauntlet. And we got, so Cassidy is on green mail, but we've got a bunch of safeties. We got tempered sword, we got silver arrows, so I'm not really expecting Cassidy to have much trouble here. And Megawott is heading off to Meyer. And you kind of have to make this play at this point. And he's going to get bumped by that bird, which is always annoying because then you lose your sword beams, which are super nice to have for that second room in Meyer.
cassidymoen getting that very nice 0 cycle Silver's Lanmo 2 fight.
Yeah. And the thing we keep in mind here is Cassidy has no idea if he's ahead or behind. We know, you know, he could probably go and full clear Turtle Rock for fun and probably still win, but he doesn't know that. So he's still going to be trying his best to get through here as quickly as possible.
Yeah, well, so far, the only thing that could have him thinking he might be a little behind is full clearing Ice Palace. If he has it in his head that Megawott was able to go mode Ice Palace.
No, Cassidy go mode Ice Palace.
Oh,
Megawott
you're right.
cleared it.
You're right. So yeah, I can't imagine Cassidy's feeling too terribly behind.
Yeah, the only thing that was a bit of a time sink was that Death Mountain climb. That was not necessary.
True, but he stacked against that to do significantly better than that. His opponent would have had to just god route the entire seed, so he's probably feeling reasonably good.
And Cassidy with a quick Moldorm 2 fight there. A hook shot over. Check this last chest just for the heck of it. It's just bombs.
Well, sitting at 4 hearts in green mail, not a bad idea to check that just on the off chance you find a blue mail or something.
Yeah. Again, even at 4 hearts, you know, Cassidy's a very high-skilled player. Don't expect him to have much trouble with Ganon in this situation. Those blue balls, on the other hand, those are hard to dodge. Cassidy has already taken a couple of hits. And, ooh, not getting any on that cycle there. Alright, Cassidy's got to be real careful now. Down to 2 hearts. Down to 1.5 hearts. Alright, Agatude down. No more worries for Cassidy.
And of course, with green mail, really there's not much functional difference in a Ganon fight between 1.5 hearts and 4, but sometimes it's just the psychological toll that it takes on you.
Yeah, and I think Cassidy probably still has that fairy.
I think you're right, so that does make it a relatively safe fight. And certainly Cassidy's not moving like he's afraid. He's wading right in there and getting his nice, efficient hits in on Ganon here.
Yeah. Players of this skill level have practiced this fight hundreds, if not thousands of times. They can do Ganon on 1.5 hearts. And on to phase 3. And we're on to phase 4. We get silver arrows. This will be real quick. Unless Cassie runs out of magic. I'd be careful there. Arrow's not going to light the torch, Cassie.
And conversely, Fire Rod will not kill Pig, but he has a blue potion. Oh, he had a blue and a red, so he was actually full of safeties this whole time.
Yeah, and there is the final arrow to Ganon's back. Get your GGs in chat for cassidymoen, who will even this series up, and we're going to a game 3.
Very nice game on Cassidy's part.
And Megawott gonna go check this green pendant. And we will hope to get Cassidy in for an interview relatively soon. And Megawott is going to throw in the forfeit. Does not want to continue this ice or fire rod hunt.
Yeah, it's pretty hard to blame him at this point. He's got to know that that's game. Cassidy finishing with an official SRL time of 1 hour, 21 minutes, and 9 seconds. Lightning fast race here today.
Yeah, definitely a quick one. So we are getting word Cassidy's not going to join us for an interview, but maybe Megawott will. So while we're waiting on them, let's just recap the seed real quick. So we had an interesting start from both runners, both putting off Kakariko for quite some time. And I believe we didn't even get a check of the Lost Woods until about 15 minutes in. And we found a lot of nice items, but we could not find that Moon Pearl for quite a while. I think it was about 30 minutes in. They found the Moon Pearl, and then all they needed was that Fire Rod for go mode. So, you know, it turned into one of those sort of needle in a haystack seeds, and Cassidy found the Fire Rod first in the back of Thieves Town. Megawott skipped the back of Thieves Town, and that pretty much decided the entire race.
Yep, it's just the way Randomizer goes. Sometimes it's all going to come down to that one decision, and unfortunately, one of our runners made what we know to be the correct gamble. But when you're in the middle of the seed, you don't know what's where. And it looks like Megawatt is over here getting queued up for a little post-race interview here.
Yeah, while we're waiting on Megawatt, I do want to take a moment to shout out to our tracker, Sammy Mess, doing a great job for us today. And we're joined by Megawatt. So, GG's.
Hey, thanks.
So that was a kind of a wild seed, really. Just threw everything at you, but couldn't find that moon pearl for a while.
Yeah, that was definitely the fastest I think I've probably ever been only one item for go mode. It was like roughly 30 minutes.
Yeah, I
When I
didn't
found the moon
realize
pearl.
it at first. I was like, okay, we finally got Dark World access. Now the seed begins. Wait a minute. We're almost in go mode.
Yeah, it's like as soon as you get Dark World access, you can just go full clear 3 entire crystal dungeons. Well, I guess, and also polish off Eastern because you had to dip that for the mirror in order to do the whole sequence for the moon pearl.
Yeah.
So obviously that was the first thing I opted to do. Skip left side of swamp because I still had a bunch of stuff open to me. Despite because I just went there pretty early, right after only pot in Eastern. And then I had a ton of overworld stuff. I had Darkness Mountain. I had Thieves Town. I had Mire if I ever found the Quake Medallion. And then that's about it. But that's a lot of stuff too. Especially the overworld takes quite a while on its own.
Yeah,
just
finding that Quake medallion was pretty unfortunate. I mean, Cassidy had already found the fire rod quite a bit before that, but that was just kind of the final nail in the coffin, I guess.
Yeah. So after I finished up the first 6 crystals, it's just a complete mess deciding what to do next because everything seems like it could have the fire rod, but you just got to make the right decision, which is not easy.
Yeah, that's how the game just works out sometimes. So, take us through your decision, I guess, to skip the back of Thieves Town, since that was pretty much what decided the entire race.
Well, I had already pretty much had my route planned ahead of me. I think after finishing Ice Palace, my first stop was Darkness Mountain, which I followed up with Ether and Spike Cave. And then after that, I was thinking I was already thinking that I was going to be heading towards Village of Outcasts and probably take the Smith Chain down, pick off Stumpy, Cave 45, Dig Game, all that stuff. And then I also found the book on Darkness Mountain, which only sweetened the deal, I thought. So it felt like I had a lot of good, there was a lot of density, and it didn't take too much longer. It was a lot more density in comparatively a lot less time than Thieves Town. So I just dipped the first 4, bailed, and went along that, picking off 3 items from the Smith Chain, including hammer pegs, of course. K45, Shovel Spot, Stumpy, Dig Game, and then I followed up with fluting back to Kakariko and then heading the north route that time, checking out Skullwoods, and then heading all the way over to Catfish and unorphaning Zora.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense just by the way you guys routed. Cassidy had already done a lot of those overworld checks before going into Thieves Town, so it made a lot more sense for him to do the back, whereas you kind of did Thieves Town earlier in the route. And I was even saying as you were in there, I'm like, I think there's a pretty good chance Megawatt's going to skip out on this, just given how much else he has to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, we saw you had that mirror out and ready to go as you were entering in.
Yeah, I definitely committed to bailing before I even walked in, which I guess probably wasn't the smartest idea. I probably should have set a limit, if there's less than 3 items in the back, then I bail. But if there's 3 or more, I should go for it or something like that. But it just felt like the Smith Chain was the stronger play because I hadn't even swept through there at all yet. So I still had a ton of stuff on that route to check out. And I felt like if I left that behind, that would be a bigger gamble than leaving the back of Thieves Town behind, because I didn't figure my opponent would opt to do the back of Pen and Thieves Town so relatively early. It was still late enough into the seed to where we had a chance to do most of the things, but it was still early time-wise.
Yeah, Cassidy actually made what I thought was a bit of an unusual play. After getting Dark World access, did not go to Swamp or Ice Palace, but instead went to Dark Death Mountain. So I had that book pretty early. And
I can see that.
yeah.
I think in our first game, he got burned by not... our first game was very similar. Jet Seed, but except it was 2 or 3 items after Dark World. that you needed to find, and one was just on Smith Chain, and then the other 2 were on Death Mountain. He put off Death Mountain in game 1, and I got like a 115, and I think he was on his way up to GT when I finished. So I think probably this time he was just trying to not let that happen again, or something like that.
That makes sense.
Plus, Dark Mountain isn't that bad on its own. Like, I do think you probably should go for Crystal Dungeons in that situation, considering you're only 1 item. But Dark Mountain is pretty dense. I wouldn't fault the play too much.
Yeah.
I just would have probably done it myself.
Yeah, so after that, Cassie did do Swamp, but put off Ice Palace and said, you know what, if it's in Ice Palace, I've probably already lost, which would have been correct. But yeah, if that Fire Red had just been in Swamp or Ice Palace, or even one of the first overworld checks you did, I think you win this race. But
it's a shame it was there. Like, in most situations, I would have won this race, but then you just get randoed so hard that it's like the one situation where you don't. Left side Swamp would have also been very troublesome.
Yeah.
I don't know if Cassidy skipped that or not, though.
Yeah, you both did.
Okay, I would have actually preferred that then. That would have been nice.
That would have been a fun race.
It sounds like I was finishing up all my stuff a bit quicker than Cassidy. So I probably would have gone back there sooner.
Yeah. You guys both had really kind of interesting early game routing. Both, I think neither of you touched Kakariko till about 8 minutes in.
Yeah, I definitely wanted to try something new for my opening route in the seed, since it was assured. So I just went straight for Escape, since I didn't have to worry about being inefficient and leaving the front of Escape behind after only checking Uncle. I could just go ahead and knock out both Uncle and the front of Escape, and then I got some bombs, so I was able to follow up with South Shore. And I figured that would increase my chance to being able to go straight into the Dark World when I went to clear out Kakariko. Almost had that. Not quite. I'm just missing the Moon Pearl, which of course later ended up being behind a whole lot of things. Mitts, Flute, Mirror.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I haven't really played a whole lot of assured open seeds, so I've never really thought too much about my early game routing in that. But
when I found out we were doing assured, I made sure to test out some openings,
nice.
And that one seemed like the one I liked the most.
So I'm curious, now in the tiebreaker round, you get to choose an option to change for the next round. Do you have any thoughts about what you might choose?
I will have to put some thought into that. Nothing springs to mind immediately, but I do have some ideas, so we'll see. Like, I don't want to like make a decision too quickly and regret it, so I'm definitely going to think about my options before I commit to anything.
Fair enough.
All right, well, thanks for being on stream, and tough luck on that race, but best of luck to both of you in Game 3. Have you scheduled that one yet?
We have not.
Okay. So I guess before we wrap up, maybe go over some of the other games we got going on. Right now on Speed Gaming 3 is Sailor Nep versus Humbug. I don't know if that one's still going on or not, but you can probably check that out. Later on tonight, we got a whole pile of matches. McLagging versus Ace Zero at 8:20. Ninban versus Pryor at 8:30. Trank versus Willard J. Bradley at 8:30. Hitaka versus Koi at 9:30. Chloe Pryor versus Aussie 101 at 10:30. JP versus Frostbite at 11:30. Hitaka versus Koi again at midnight. And all of those matches are going to be restreamed on the various Speed Gaming channels. So follow Speed Gaming and Speed Gaming 2 through 6, as well as ALTTP Randomizer and ALTTP Randomizer 2 through 5. So follow all those channels and you'll be able to catch all the action. There's a lot of games going on right now in this very, very large group stage. And then we could also have a schedule there. There's a link to it, so you can keep up with the matches you want to check out. And that's in chat right now. And last but not least, one final shout out to our tracker, Sammy Mess. Did a great job today. And it's a very fast seed. But with that, I think we'll go ahead and wrap things up. Maybe I'll throw it over to you, Ben, if you have any final thoughts for us. Ben, you there?
Sorry about that. I brain farted and forgot I was on push to talk. Well, I think that tells us that it's time to sign off for the evening. But big thanks to both our runners for putting on a great show. To you, Etienne, for all the wonderful commentary, and to everybody working hard behind the scenes at Speed Gaming.
Absolutely. Have a great evening, everyone.